So, this wasn't the video I originally planned on making. My plan was I'm just gonna top cut the webcam tournament with Wind, you know? I like Wind. It's fun. It's cool. And then I was gonna make this video talking about how bad Wind is. This deck sucks. It's ass. Never touch it. And then I just won the whole tournament, so like, Wind good? Wind good? Possibly. I don't know. Maybe I'm just goated. It's kind of hard to tell. But yeah, I'm super excited to showcase this deck. I've been working on it for months. I've been wanting to top cut with Wind for months, like since the first webcam tournament for Daybreak. So it feels great to finally be here. And yeah, this is Wind Nexus. If you're a degenerate who eats chewed up old gum off the bottom of like the dining table at your local Denny's, then you might know it as Wind Burn. Please pipe down. It's not a fucking burn deck. I'm tired of hearing people call it burn just because it plays burn cards. It's like, stop, please stop. But yeah, let's just get into it. We're starting off with one copy of Exalter, the primary game plan, and the first burn card. So we're doing great at beating the burn allegations already. Thing is, this card is really bad. The only reason I played it was like, I want to play Wind Nexus, specifically Wind Nexus. So that kind of forces me to play Exalter, despite the fact that this card is really bad. Like, the idea, the game plan is you try to simplify the board state to, like, where your opponent doesn't have any guys on the board, and then you just blow up their spirit deck with Exalter and Aelus, deal, like, 5 damage. It's really explosive. It's really fucking fun. It's horrible. This card, I fully intended on citing it out every single set when I signed up for the tournament, and that's exactly what I did. I don't think I ever kept it in for game 2, and I didn't regret it. This card is bad, but I got to call it Wind Nexus, so that's a dub. Next, we have 3 copies of Toxiswarm. This card's really interesting. I'm gonna talk about it for a minute. It's just generically good. Like, it's Toxion, and Toxion's great. Everybody knows Toxion. It's our second burn card, actually, and not a burn deck. One thing people mistake about Wind Nexus is that you try to set up a Toxiswarm and an Exalter combo. Like, you go Aelus for 5, search Exalter, cast Exalter, the next turn you cast Toxiswarm and just burn loop like that. There's a couple problems with that game plan. 1, Exalter bad. 2, just searching out the second Exalter is more burn than searching out Toxiswarm. It's like, why would you search out Toxiswarm? And then 3, it's just really expensive for such a very minimal payoff. Like, you also need to get those guys to stick on the field, and like, Exalter is such a tiny guy that's not very reliable unless you spend even more spirits, and like, going Aelus for 5 costs you a quarter of your spirit deck. Like, that's insane. You can't justify that. And like, that's kind of the problem with Exalter. Not Exalter, Aelus. It's just really expensive. Too hard to justify playing it twice or resolving it twice in a game, so you usually just play it for 2 spirits to search out a guy once, and it feels great. Sometimes you go for a 3rd spirit to set up Altar of Stars, but usually just 2. We play Toxiswarm at 3 because it's a really interesting card in the greater like Wind toolbox card pool. Most Wind cards you just play at like 1 copy, maybe 2, because, you know, search them with Aelus, right? The thing about that though is you never want Toxiswarm off Aelus, right? Like, if I want burn, I'm searching Exalter. I never want burn. If I want a body, I'm searching Sorlet. Like, it's just pointless to search out Toxiswarm. It feels kind of bad. But Toxiswarm is just so good that it feels great to play it at 3. Like, this card just steals late games. It's how I won the tournament. I love it. It's really good. The next up, we got 2 copies of Sorlet. This is an interesting card. Most people seem to play this card at 3 because, like, it's a 5, you know? It feels pretty good to draw into. I prefer playing it at 2 because I'm playing more than just Sorlet for my 5s. And I'm playing, like, 6 other 5s. Most people who are, like, playing more than Sorlet for their 5s, though, they're just playing 1 copy of Sorlet because, you know, you search it. I kind of disagree with that because, like, searching Sorlet is expensive. That's 2 for Aelus, 1 to cast Sorlet, probably 1 for Sorlet effect. Like, it's pricey. But, like, drawing into Sorlet feels pretty good because it's a 5, you know? It's just a good card. So I like playing it at 2 a lot. I think it's the correct ratio for any Wind deck. And then we got 1 copy of P-Guest. This card was bonkers. This card went so hard. It was insane. I already knew going into this tournament that, like, Pigas was great. I was gonna make good use of it. But it carried the whole thing. It was the MVP. It was what made this deck actually, like, good. I sided out Exalter for the second Pigas, like, literally every set. I'm not kidding. I had a second Pigas in my side, and I brought it in every game. It was great. I definitely... Like, the one change I would make to this deck is take out the Exalter for the second Pigas in the main, because Pigas is crazy. Pigas go burr. I loved it. It was so strong. And next up we got the standard Thunder consistency stuff. 3 Electric, 3 Astrabbit. I don't think these cards need an introduction. Electric searches Aelus, which means Electric effectively searches every wind card in my deck. And it also searches Zeus. Zeus is just the best divine in the game. It's crazy. And Astrabbit is Astrabbit, you know. It's Astrabbit. And then here's where the deck kind of gets a little bit interesting. 3 copies of Galaxy. This is the other 5 I was talking about. It's just... Galaxy is, in my opinion, the best 5 attacker in the game currently. Even better than Viscerus. Like, sure. Viscerus special casts another Viscerus from deck and gets bigger, but it loses to every back row under the sun. Whereas Galaxy not only plays well into 90% of back rows, it also just is really good. You know, like, 5 good. 5 good. There's a lot of decks that, like, want to misenchant their guys. Every deck wants to misenchant their guys with water to play around Tsunami, so, like, Galaxy kind of punishes that. Especially, like, Cryoburn. Like, Frost decks that, like, make use of Cryoburn and stuff are, like, a big problem for Wind, in my opinion. And just having Galaxy to simplify those matchups is very helpful. Like, it's very, very important. This card is crazy. I think most decks should at least side deck Galaxy, if not main deck. Like, everything should at least side Galaxy. It's nuts. And then 3 copies of Edward. This card, I started playing it for Frost, because, like, Frost is an interesting matchup because you need to take control of the board while simultaneously not using all your removal, so when your opponent suddenly does throw down 2 Cryoburns or 2 Rhinosects, you do have an out. Like, you gotta play very carefully. So, like, Eddie is just removal for those 1 costs so I can save my Earthquake for your Cryoburn, right? But then realized that I was like, oh shit, I should be playing Eddie just because it's good into everything, you know? The thing about Eddie is that, like, Wind is a very expensive deck overall. It's pretty pricey, so having this cheap, efficient option is very appreciated. Like, it feels really nice. It's great. He's Edward. He's Edward. Then we got 1 copy of Aelus, 1 copy of Zeus. I was about to call it standard, but I realized it's not. Most people are still coping on 2 Aelus. Please stop. 2 Aelus is incorrect, because it's just way too expensive to resolve more than once, and you're always searching it with Electric anyways. If I'm being completely real, though, I usually search out Zeus instead, just because, like, Zeus is Zeus. But Aelus is great, you know, it usually grabs me out of P-Gust, sometimes Sorlet, never Exalter or Toxiswarm, even though it's supposed to grab Exalter. But yeah, Aelus, great, just adds a lot of consistency. Zeus, great, it's Zeus. Here's where the deck gets a little bit crackhead. 2 copies of Atlantis. The theory behind this card is kind of wild. It came to me like a vision at 3 in the morning, one random day, and I loved this tech. It was amazing. The theory was, originally I was playing Shield in the slot, and I knew I needed to cut it because Shield is bad into Thunder, Earth, and Fies, which are, like, the 3 best decks in my opinion. So, like, I knew I needed to cut it, but I wasn't sure what for. And eventually I came to the conclusion, okay, I'm going to try Island of Aeolia, you know? Which I was very reluctant to do so. I've been the biggest Island of Aeolia hater my entire life. I think that card is ass, and I still think that card is ass. I tested with it, and I was like, okay, I actually kind of like this card, but it's odd, you know? The thing about Island is that you never care about stats from Island. For defense P-Gust, I don't care. 6 attacks Sorlet, kinda cool, but I'm usually just gonna use Sorlet effect. 5 attacks Toxiswarm is fine, I guess. But, like, I never really cared about the stats. Which is actually one of Wind's biggest strengths, in my opinion. Because, like, both Earth and Thunder in this format really want their stadiums. So the fact that Wind doesn't care about their stats, so they can just play very reactively with their stadium, wait for you to play it first, feels great, you know? It just feels really good that I can just wait for you to go for your stadium first, and I think that's part of what makes Wind playable in this format. But the thing was, I knew there had to be something better than Island because I never wanted those Island of Aeolia stats. And eventually, I came to Atlantis. Because, yeah, most of the time I don't care about the stats still. Like, it's still just the very reactive stadium answer that I wanted. But sometimes, I want the stats, you know? 6 attack Galaxy? That's nice. 6 attack Sorlet with a Water Spirit? Pretty nice. 5 attack Eddie is sometimes something. It comes up more often than 5 attack Toxoswarm for sure. So like, Atlantis is identical to Island, but the stat boost actually is impactful occasionally, compared to Island where the stat boost is impactful never. So I really liked Atlantis. This card is crazy. I loved it so much. It was really, really, really good. Yeah. Stadiums in this deck are pretty strong for very weird reasons, but I really loved Atlantis. I actually, because I don't care about the stats though, I often just Thunder Enchanted it so I could alter onto Astrama more profitably. Like, that came up a couple times, so that's worth noting. Like, Island is mostly the same, but Atlantis is just better because it does all the same things that Island does and more, you know? Which feels weird, but like, the theory behind this card is cracked. It's super strong. I loved it. Then we got 1 copy of Laurels, 1 Earthquake, standard, 3 Ambrosia, of course, 3 Altar, 3 PTA, 3 Gorgons, 3 Tsunami. I don't think I need to talk about these cards. They're the good cards that every deck plays. Okay, so moving on to the Spirit deck, we got 3, 6, 9 Wind, not Illustriad Wind, unfortunately. This feels really low considering how expensive Wind is, but it's actually pretty nice because all the Wind cards in my deck are all the worst cards in my deck, so I can just expend Wind pretty comfortably, even if I'm playing as low as 9. Like, if you know how to manage your spirits, this is not an issue. 9 is plenty. You could go down to 8, maybe even 7, I think. But yeah, I loved 9 Wind. It felt great. We got 4 Thunder for our Thunder stuff. It gives me 1 Spirit for Astrabbit, 1 Spirit for Elechik, 2 Spirits for Zeus, which is perfect. Exactly what I need. I was playing 5 Thunder for the longest time, because the theory is, okay, that gives me 2 Spirits on Zeus, 1 on Elechik, 1 on Astrabbit, and then I get an extra Thunder Spirit if I want to re-enchant Astrabbit or resolve a second Elechik. In practice, it never came up. If I need more Thunder Spirits, I usually just Ambrosia'd for them, but if I don't expend my Thunder Spirits, I'm chilling. Like, this was perfect. I didn't want any more. And then we got 4 copies of Leviathan. Exact same thing, you know, seems kind of low, but in practice, if you just manage your spirits right, this is more than enough. I loved it. Then we got 2 Earth to resolve an Earthquake, and 1 Flare Mine for our side deck. But this can also be used to misenchant a Sorlet. That came up once across the entire tournament, but it still came up. You know, it was finals game 2 versus Jess, I think. I think she expended to draw turn 1, so turn 2 I cast Frost Sorlet because I didn't want to spend my Water Spirits, and I didn't need the effect, you know? So having the Frost Spirit in the main deck feels really nice. I think you should never side deck Spirits, that's a mistake. Never more than 1. Siding Spirits is a bad idea. Don't do it. Okay, now, for our side deck, we got 1 copy of P-Gust. I sided this guy in literally every game, I'm not kidding. It should be in the main deck. We got 2 copies of Galaxair. This is an interesting card. In theory, this is just better Verituka, right? Like, it outs defensive guys. It just seems like so much stronger to me. It seems like it has a lot more utility, which is why I sided Galaxair. We're also siding Verituka, though. We're siding both. I know I just shat on Verituka a lot, but in practice, I was surprised. Galaxair was actually really ass, and Verituka was crazy. The thing about Galaxair is I didn't really care about all the utility it had. Like, sure, sounds nice, but never came up. Whereas Verituka has 1 advantage, exactly 1 advantage over Galaxair, and that is it plays much better into Poison Tipped Arrow. And that was very, very valuable. I really, really valued that. So Verituka was crazy. I loved this little toucan. He was amazing. Then we also got 2 cards of Veritaqua, his cousin. This card sucks. The theory was it's Verituka but for defense guys, which sounded cool on paper. I don't think I would keep it in. It can also, in theory, be used to have like a Chronodile, but I don't think that's ever actually gonna happen. I don't think that's ever actually happened, and it never will. It's not reliable, but like when it comes to outing a towers like Chronodile, you'll kind of take what you can get. With that said, though, I would take this out. I never wanted it. Some people did ask me why I cited 2 and 2 instead of like 1 Tuca, 3 Takwa. The reason's pretty straightforward. It's something a lot of people miss. It's the fact that I'm siding in Verituka because I need to be more spirit efficient, you know? The point of siding in Verituka is that Game 1, I felt like I was spending too many spirits, so I needed to play a more efficient strategy going into Game 2, and Verituka accomplishes that, you know? It's removal, basically. If I'm at the point where I'm playing one copy of Verituka and intending to search it off A-list, though, that's kind of defeating the purpose, you know? Because if I'm spending 2 spirits to get there, that's more expensive than Earthquake. Like, that sucks. I don't have a reason to play Verituka at that point. This is just a good cheap card, and if I'm searching it off A-list, that all goes out the window. No reason to do that. And then we got 3 copies of Boombat, just to out bullcrap. 1 copy of Island. I never cited this in, I would take it out. 2 copies of Cryoblast. Some people said I should main deck this instead of the Atlantis. I think they're kind of crazy. Because the stadium, like always winning stadium wars is really valuable, and this only came up, like I think I cited in twice and only resolved it once, and I never missed it, you know, like it's a really good card, it's just not for this format, I think. But I still like citing it because there are matchups where like, oh yeah, this card is nuts. And then 2 copies of Shield. This card should be at 3, but like I'll admit this entire side deck was very half-baked. I just threw something together that seemed kind of good. The Galaxy and Veritukas and Atlantis I would cut. I would bring Shield to 3, probably 2 good at 3. I would also cut the Pegas, but only because I want to main deck it. Like, these ones are bad. This one good, right? That's the deck. That's all I got. This was really fucking fun. I loved Wind. I think Wind is definitely a little bit better than I gave it credit for. This format, I was like, oh yeah, this deck sucks, you know? And I think as I improved the deck, it kind of just became 5's feet Pegast, like Pegast Beatdown, and that's good, you know? Pegast is nuts. I really like this deck. It was a ton of fun. I recommend you try it. I'd like to hear what you think about the deck. Leave a comment. I think I'm supposed to tell people to do that. That's what every other YouTuber does. Thanks for watching. I think Sir Rooley from the TCG Dome is editing this video, so shoutouts to that guy. He's pretty chill. Shoutouts to Wind. And yeah, thanks for watching. See ya.